We all know the War Within beta is dropping, right? It's coming out this week. Everyone's real excited about it. But is it a good thing? The War Within beta is here, but there are some concerns. Why is that? Let's see what Marcellian has to say about why he's concerned about the War Within beta.
They just dropped the information like as
5 minutes ago, man.
As we were,
it's been 5 minutes.
Yeah, as we're prepping for this shit, it was like, okay, beta is being announced, right? So we have to tackle this. But not before we talk about the issues with the alpha. I think the biggest problem this alpha cycle had, I know it was in Dragonflight as well to some extent.
It was in beta and Dragonflight as well, by the way.
It was in beta as well. All right, so that kind of complicates things a little bit.
Hopefully not this time, right?
But the problem is, so when you think about releasing an alpha, you want a lot of people in to test everything around. The problem this time was that I don't think they had sent invites or flagged accounts sufficient enough, because whenever we logged on and tried to do stuff, there was a big issue with the players not being there. So,
if that was a problem with alpha, it's not going to be a problem with beta. The fact that people are able to pay their way into beta this time, I promise you they are going to have one of the biggest beta pools they've ever had. So if this is an alpha complaint that there weren't enough people, beta's going to have a shit ton of people. Degenerates like me paid they freaking $90 for the expansion so they can have it.
They usually come in waves.
I wonder if that's gonna. I wonder how many people are getting beta.
They do come in waves, but the main issue is that the people who are playing alpha, they're not doing like all of the content. Most of them are just leveling for some reason, which for me, personal opinion here, if you level, you're spoiling yourself. Just test out the systems, test out the mechanics. That's what alphas should be.
And that's exactly what alpha is, because we've had this conversation before. Is to test out if things work, and then in beta, you usually go over the actual gameplay and see if like the leveling progression.
Yeah, when it comes to testing, I don't want to spoil anything for myself. That's why when I get beta in 3 days here, I'm going to be making a dwarf. I'm going to be making a what's it called, earthen. And I'm going to do that and do that opening quest line, see what the customizations are like, what their abilities are like and everything. Why is that? Because I'm not doing that shit when the War Within comes out. I'm not making a fucking earthen. I don't give a shit about that. I'm playing my blood DK, playing my human with this stupid new racial, and I'm going to just level through and do all that shit. So I don't want to be spoiled for anything. I don't want this to be my second time doing shit when I play the War Within. I want to be excited. I want it to be the first time for everything. So I'm going to make an earthen. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm testing in beta when I get it. That's how we're going to play it.
And the professions and all of that actually work fine. But to each his own, and that's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day,
Dragonflight. I made a drag
new stuff that you're going to be doing in WoW, you're still going to revolve around dungeons and raids. So you kind of need to understand how classes work. Plus, that's
I'm
why
gonna miss
you would be interested in doing alpha. Otherwise, like, what are you doing there?
Yeah. Plus, we have a lot of friends who would love to play with us on the alpha, but they couldn't because they didn't get their account flagged. And it's a bitch because when we trying to play and trying to test stuff out, there's no one to play with. Like, I always queued as a healer, Flame always queued as the DPS we're working on and researching, and Mokti, who's like in the other room, queues up for a tank. So we have all the corners covered.
The trifecta is complete.
Yes, and still we're in the queue for like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half or something, and sometimes we just
we have to log off.
That's a long queue.
Nothing's happening.
Yeah, so it was something that we really wanted to talk about. I don't know why. Hot take. I think they didn't invite as many players during this alpha cycle.
I never got into alpha
because they wanted people to play mob remix.
That is something that I was very concerned about whenever they've announced, before the alpha was announced, by the way, when they announced the Cataclysm launch and the remix. I was like, this sounds like it's end of season 4, that is going to overlap with the potential testing cycle of alpha, and that will suck because nobody's going to be on the alpha when there's so much live content to play with. And lo and behold, here we are. Hopefully for the last time, but
that might have been it too. They might have invited the same amount of people they always do, but I don't think during an alpha cycle there's ever been this much other content to do. Because they had Kata, they had Mop Remix, so probably a lot of people who got alpha just didn't even play it. They maybe joined, like they got in for a minute and then they got back into Kata or Mop Remix. So that could have been it. They just needed to invite more people than usual this time rather than the same amount because they had so much going on in the actual game.
they couldn't probably have done it any other way, since they are actually releasing the testing cycle seems to be shorter and shorter with each expansion, which I guess is great because we just get stuff quicker.
But it does. Some people correctly so feel a little bit concerned because if these cycles are shorter, that means less time to test and less time to fix things once the game launches. But on the other hand, we got confirmation from Holly and Maria Hamilton in London that the WoW team right now is bigger than it ever was in the history of World of Warcraft. That's confirmed. Right. And they both Holly and Maria were like.
I do want to say too, in terms of testing, the hero talents need to be tested out the ass, right? They got to be tested a lot because those actually attach to player power. But as far as like actually alpha testing and beta testing the expansion, there is no like temporary end game breaking shit that they got to worry about like they have in past expansions with like, all the AP grinds and everything. They had to worry about that stuff. Now it's really just you're building on Dragonflight. You're adding more to what was already there. Skyriding, the dungeon pools, all that. Like, it's really just building on what's already there rather than introducing something crazy and new that's going to break the game. Hero talents are the number one thing they have to worry about. That's what has to get tested the most because that's attached to player power and rotations and everything else, and that's what can really scuff things up for certain classes and specs.
Super pumped about this, and it's like, listen, we have basically a team handling like every aspect of it, so don't you worry. Even like if the cycles are shortened and stuff, the feedback is good, and you can see that with all of the development notes you see and all of the class changes, but some class changes. We'll get to that. But it's confirmed June the 5th. It's going to be like the public beta. So this is going to be a lot of people coming in. I'm hoping they have servers prepared for this because if they're gonna have like two servers or three servers, that's gonna break for sure.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people. A lot of people are, listen to Ramhead paying $90 just to play beta is entrapment because it's what I don't like about the war with it. Look, they're doing it to make money, of course. Including beta is gonna get some people to pay, but do not. For the love of God, do not buy the $90 expansion just for beta. It's a temporary broken version of the game. It's not going to be it's not early access. Yes, you are getting 3 days early access to the game for buying the $90 edition as well, but it doesn't matter. None of the actual shit like this season, the dungeons, the raid, none of that's going to be open in those 3 days. All you're doing is just playing early and basically leveling up a little bit early. But everyone's going to be able to catch you before the season starts, so really it doesn't matter. All in all, don't waste your money on shit that you don't need to. Now, did I do it? Of course I did. I'm a degenerate who streams this fucking game. Of course I bought the $90 version. I'm going to write that shit up off of my taxes. But at the end of the day, if I was not streaming, would I have done it? Probably not. I'll be completely honest with you. Probably not. I probably would have just bought like the mid-tier version or something. I don't know. But do not buy it. At the least, do not buy it for beta. Please. That's ridiculous.
I think WoW Remix is getting to a point where, people are pushing either the heroic difficulty on the raids or whatever, or still leveling alts. But I think that is slowly fading down, and the beta comes in at the right moment to catch everybody in, right? So looking at this is like, okay, we have, let's read it out here, shall we? Sure. So World of Warcraft War Within beta tests begin June the 5th. Over the course of the test, we'll be inviting community veterans. Are you community veterans? Yeah, you watching. Are you? Press, fan sites, friends, and family to check out the upcoming expansion and give us feedback. Players who purchase or who upgrade to the Epic Edition of the War Within will also gain immediate access to the beta and gain a minimum 3-day early access to the expansion. I forgot about this.
Sure.
No, this is... So it's basically for anybody who was concerned about this is closed beta. This is not open for everybody. You're going to be getting invites. If you haven't signed up for the beta, you can do so on their official website. That's how you would have gotten...
Another thing, by the way, if you got alpha... If you did get alpha, your alpha account is going to be converted over to beta. So if you got alpha, you actually already know you're getting into beta. You don't have to buy the $90 version of the game. Just saying. That's another cheat code. If you happen to have gotten in, you're already lucky. You're going to get into beta. Blizzard always converts
into
those
alpha
over.
as well. And if you've pre-purchased the Epic Edition, you'll automatically get in. I don't know if they're going to eventually open the beta for everybody. I don't think they're going to do that anymore, considering that they've put a price tag on it and the access as well. So it's unlikely.
The extra goodies are
So
good too.
if you were expecting to just get free invites and you haven't, maybe I don't know.
No, but it's interesting you say that, because they go on to say that players selected to participate will receive an email invitation directing them to download the game client directly from the Battle.net desktop app. Now let me tell you, that email comes very, very late. Like once June the 5th hits, this is a tip. This is an advice. So once that date drops, check your Battle.net launcher, okay? Because I don't think there was a time when, like, we weren't even doing YouTube or
so
we
you're gonna have to
even
select
being
it and click
that much
update?
recognized. When we got access to alphas and betas, and that email popped up like weeks after, and we already
Or
turned
installed
the
it
shit,
on
They
that
right?
flag the accounts, your client updates before you actually get the actual email. I don't know, but that was then. It doesn't really matter. You always like refresh your client. That's known for all Blizzard games.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Let's read here. So, getting started. Join us in testing the war within. Players who have opted in can be selected to be testers, and invitationals go out regularly throughout the test. If selected to participate in the beta test, your Battle.net account will already be flagged for access. So basically, what I just said.
Yeah.
Players who upgrade to, okay, we already covered that. Make sure your graphics are, this is boring stuff. What's available in the beta, you might ask? New systems, the complete leveling experience, zones, dungeons, delves, warbands, and the new playable Earthen are all available in the beta.
We're gonna make Earthen, boys.
Raid testing will come at a later date. This is a very important topic, because when
delves.
Dragonflight beta launched, I don't know if you remember
see.
this, the raid testing was, I think, either that same week or the week after. So that comes really fast in. Now, this is another thing. Once you get into the beta, and I'm sure a lot of you will, make sure you level up some of the characters and start doing stuff around. Do they do templates?
I think in Dragonflight they did have two servers, one for max level templates
I don't
and
know if
one for
I'm probably
leveling it.
not going to test raid. That's going to be, I don't know if I want to get into the raid early. I want to see it when I see it, when it's done.
Experience.
Let
Because I
other
remember
people
we
do
were
that
testing
shit.
a lot of the stuff. Plus, they're gonna eventually add Mythic Plus to the roster as well. We're always gonna test Mythic Plus before
Probably
the season
not,
gets
Egg.
launched. Considering that's been speculated that we have some placeholder affixes for the new season of Mythic Plus. So that's what I would expect. I don't think they're gonna release raid testing for people that might not have leveled yet. They're not gonna make that mistake and miss out on actually having enough player base to test it out.
Yeah. Well, the main idea is, like, raid testing, if we're going to take the same timetable as they had for Dragonflight, raid testing comes really, really fast after the beta drops. So make sure if you get into the beta, you are aware of that. All right. Now, of course, you're going to see all of the zones. This is very interesting because in the alpha, we had like phases. Okay, this week you get the first zone, the second week you get the second zone, the first couple of dungeons. Now, when you get the beta, like, mostly everything is there, right? This is like how like the big floodgates are opened, and all of the content is there for you to test. Now, I cannot stress this enough. The beta is like, I feel like people still treat the beta as like a sort of like early access game.
It's not early access, guys.
They're really hyped up about getting feedback and implementing it as soon as possible. So if you're gonna join the beta, please do your part and feedback the shit out of it. It's important, man. It's really important because they listen, okay? Partly they listen, not always, but they have a good record now on listening, right?
Yeah, with all the changes and everything that they've done for the hero talents and the speed at which they're handling some classes, it's very obvious, like you said, like Maria Hamilton as well, and
yeah, Holly Longdale is the name you're looking for. Flame, don't worry, I got your brains back, okay? Whenever you fart with your brain, I'm here. They confirmed that everybody is on deck. Like, so the cool thing about that was they have a team that is dedicated for all of the WoW experiment stuff. So that is usually about the WoW remix and all that. Then you have a team who is actually on top of what's happening in season 4. All right.
Yeah.
And there's also a team that is like expanded into different smaller teams that handles all of the other expansions. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not saying something I shouldn't hear, but they are already at the graphical assets for The Last Titan.
Yeah.
It was that one?
I don't think he's saying anything improper there. Basically, Metzen said that they already had teams working on Midnight, and once the War Within drops, they already have teams. By the time the War Within drops, they would have already been working on The Last Titan as well. So they're working ahead.
So they're already having like concept art and graphical assets.
I don't
and
think
zones.
people remember how alphas looked in the past, but this alpha was actually one of the most polished alphas we've ever seen. If past alphas, when I used to watch alpha gameplay for like Mr. GM and shit, there was so many things that were just like checkered asset boxes, like clearly unfinished shit, complete zones that looked janky as shit. No, this alpha looked pretty good. Like it was a very much like it wasn't a finished product, but it was very close. And beta is probably going to look even better. So yeah, they are working ahead. That's for sure. They are on top of their shit.
Implemented the game for the Last Titan, which is the third expansion. War Within isn't even out yet. So yeah, they have a lot of people working on the team. But just
Ramhead,
back to
I have
the
a
issue
whole
at
video
hand
about
here.
pre-patch.
I think like is June 5th next week,
check
man?
it out.
Am I crazy?
Should be, yeah.
It is.
And the beta is announced. We need a lot more people to test things out. It's gonna be awesome. They're definitely listening to feedback, and the amount of feedback that they're actually implementing is staggering. And there are a lot of classes that have good examples for this.
Alpha used to be funny to watch. Yeah, no doubt. Alpha used to be broken as shit to watch. When you were watching Alpha, you were watching people play a broken game. People would fall through the floor. They would enter like weird zones that weren't supposed to be available yet. They would walk through walls, like all kinds of broken shit. This Alpha was much more like ready for testing than usual. Nice video from Marcellian.